You ever wonder what happens when a Roblox developer gets too comfortable, too entitled, and way too powerful? We're not talking about a small-time troll or a petty argument. We're talking about a guy who built a massive player base and then used that power to raid Discord servers, throw around racial slurs, gamble away developer funds, and blame his own staff when things went wrong. His name is Isaac Dev, and while his games might look innocent, his behavior behind the scenes tells a very different story. If you've ever played Bubblegum Mayhem or Pet World, this might change how you see them. Because the person running it all, he's done things that most people would get banned for instantly. And the worst part, he's still here, still making games, and still trying to pretend none of it happened. Let's talk about Isaac Dev. So let's start with one of the most reckless things you can do as a developer with any kind of following. After being banned from another Roblox related Discord server, fairly banned by the way, Isaac Dev decided to get revenge. Instead of just moving on or handling it privately, he used his own server, which had over 17,000 members at the time, to send his fans after the guy who got him banned. That's not vague, that's not innocent, that's a direct call to action. And when someone with a massive, loyal fan base says something like this, especially to a younger audience, it's basically the same thing as pointing a loaded gun and walking away. And guess what happened? Exactly what you'd expect. The target server was instantly hit with spam and chaos. And the worst part is, Isaac didn't step in to stop it. He sat back and let it happen. This wasn't a one-off mistake, this was deliberate. It shows how willing he is to weaponize his community when his own ego gets bruised. And if you think that's as bad as it gets, this is just scratching the surface. Now, if you thought raiding another server was unprofessional, let's talk about something even worse. Isaac Dev doesn't just act reckless, he straight up said things in public that would get most developers permanently banned from platforms, let alone disqualified from having any kind of leadership. This was said in a public server in response to someone asking a basic question about game passes, and his response? He blows up, uses a racial slur, then brushes it off like it's just another Tuesday. This isn't an edgy joke, this isn't taken out of context, this is who he is when he thinks nobody's watching, or worse, when he thinks he can get away with it. And remember, this is someone running a Roblox game that kids play. Someone who willingly exposes his own audience to this kind of language. If Roblox actually enforced its own community standards, this alone would be enough for a permanent ban. But for some reason, he's still around. Still uploading, still recruiting testers, still pretending he's the victim every time people call him out. And that brings us to the next part, how he treats the people closest to him. The developers and testers who work on his games. So we've seen how Isaac treats his audience. But what about the people actually helping build his games? The ones behind the scenes trying to make it all work. Let's just say, he doesn't exactly treat them with respect either. This was his response when an issue happened in one of his games. Instead of taking any accountability, as the lead developer, he throws half the testing team under the bus, calls them useless, says he's extremely pissed, and openly threatens to fire all of them. No professionalism, no maturity, just straight up blame. And keep in mind, testing is a volunteer position most of the time in these communities. These are fans or junior developers offering their help, and this is how they get treated. It's a perfect example of how Isaac runs things. When things go well, he takes the credit, but when things break, he blames testers, he blames players, he blames everyone but himself. This is not leadership, this is ego-driven control masked as development. And speaking of ego, we need to talk about where their game's revenue actually goes, because this is where the hypocrisy gets hard to ignore. Isaac Dev's game, Pet World, was a hit. Thousands of concurrent players, a loyal community, and a monetization system that actually stood out. Players could earn game passes for free just by playing, which is almost unheard of in the pet sim genre. But just 2 months after launch, Isaac pulled the plug. He claimed the game wasn't profitable enough, that it wasn't making the money he needed. But here's the thing, while claiming his studio was struggling to profit, he was out spending millions of Robux, not on development, not on marketing, but on gambling and other games like Pet Simulator and Pets Go. He literally used the entire ad budget on a clan battle.
We spent our entire advertising budget on the clan battle. So
Well, we got some advertising done from it, I guess, but
like 500 people joined the Discord server out of 5 million Robux.
it wasn't 5 mil, it was like 1 mil.
That wasn't a joke, that was his idea of advertising. And when people questioned him, when players asked why he was spending thousands of dollars worth of Robux on virtual gambling instead of fixing Pet World, he attacked them. He accused them of twisting his words, calling them idiots, and even tried leaking private conversations to make himself look better. He even flexed how much money Pet World made while claiming it wasn't profitable. Then, when asked about putting profits back into the game, he said 95% of the earnings go back into the studio. Which sounds great until you realize he personally gambled more than 5% of the game's revenue. This isn't just bad business, it's manipulation. And now, the sequel to Pet World, it's already being built, but without the one thing people loved about the original, the free-to-play token system. Isaac himself said it was a bad idea, and the new game Pet Odyssey is shaping up to be completely pay to win. So much for learning from your mistakes. If everything we talked about so far wasn't enough, Let's take a look at what Isaac Dev actually thinks about his own players, especially the ones who don't spend money.
Free-to-play players are more entitled than pay-to-win players. Not all of them are, but it's like the ratio are. Because if you're going to complain about like an update and not having enough features, when you aren't even supporting the developers and just getting free money from them, that's just entitled. Like, you're not giving them anything, so why should they give you anything?
That's how he views you if you don't spend Robux. Not as a community member, not as a fan, but as a leech. According to Isaac, if you're not dropping real money into his games, you don't deserve content, you don't deserve updates, and you definitely don't deserve respect. Which is wild, considering free players are what keeps games alive on Roblox. They're what helps boost your game in the algorithm. They're the reason word of mouth spreads. They're the core to every major Roblox title. But to Isaac, they're just freeloaders. And when asked why promised content wasn't added to the game, his response wasn't technical issues or time constraints. It was just, I got lazy. That's not a slip up, that's not sarcasm, that is his actual mindset. And somehow, he's still launching games, still gathering followers, and still trying to come across like he's just misunderstood. But the truth is right there. In his own words, his ego, his anger, his lack of accountability, it's all public and it's been happening for years. So here's the real question. Why is he still being given a platform? Roblox is a platform where young players trust developers. And when someone like Isaac Dev abuses that trust by weaponizing fans, using slurs, mistreating his own team, and gambling away revenue, he doesn't just fail as a creator. He fails as a leader, as a role model, and as a human being responsible for the community he built. This isn't about canceling someone, it's about accountability. And if Roblox won't hold people like Isaac Dev accountable, then we should. Thanks for watching, and don't let developers like this go unchecked. Subscribe for more content, join the Discord, and follow my account on Roblox. So yeah,